Well, welcome back, everybody, to, this is the third episode overall, but the first episode since announcing the new name of the show, hopefully the permanent name of the show. It will be the permanent name of the show. 2 On, 2 Out, a Phillies podcast brought to you by myself, Andrew, and
Bob. Oh, I was really excited there. I thought you had a sponsor for us.
No, our sponsorship is the lovely people who listen to this, and the people who are willing to listen to our tirades. And this week is probably going to be the worst of them all.
Sure, it gets better from here.
Yeah, well, we'll revisit that statement in a couple weeks. So to break down the week, the Phillies had their first road trip of the season. Last week, I believe we gave a couple predictions. I had said 3 and 4 on the road, and Bob, I believe you had predicted.
I said 1 and 5.
I don't think so.
I was pretty spot on.
Hold on, I'm going to queue up. I'm going to find it from last week and queue it up. What did Bob say?
No. Nope. I am super optimistic. I'm going 5 and 2.
And there we go. We played back. We now know what Bob said last week. The Phillies went 1 and 5 on this road trip after starting the season 5 and 1.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So to go through all of the games from the past week. On Friday, the Phillies fell to the Braves 8-1. In that game, we saw Ronald Acuna, who is going to be a thorn in the side of the Phillies for years. The whole of the National League East as a whole for quite a few years. He had 4 hits and a home run in that game. We had Zach Wheeler start that game. He ended up going 4 2/3. He had 4 walks that game, 4 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, and he probably would have gone a little bit longer. But Joe Girardi had a little bit of a slip up. Bob, I know you caught that bit a little more than I did, so you want to kind of talk about Girardi there?
Yeah, he made a season manager mistake. He went out for a second time during an inning. And had to pull Zach Wheeler. You can see when you watch the clip back, you can see he kind of takes says my bad to Zach, but that was just people were just loving it on Twitter and calling him Joe Kapler and
yeah.
So that was just a great night for morale.
And I think both instances happened in Atlanta. I think Kapler had the same problem. Similar problem.
Zone, yep.
Yeah. So we'll get into the Atlanta talk in a little bit. And to wrap up that game, Brandon Kinsler and David Hale combined to go 3 1/3 with 4 earned runs. So just overall, not the greatest showing that game, and that'll happen. And when that game did happen, it was okay. We were due for a stinker. Little did we know we were in for a week of stinkers. The next night on the 10th, Phillies fell to the Braves 5-4. This game we saw Andrew McCutchen and Bryce Harper hit their first home run of the season, so we can cancel the Harper home run watch, thankfully. Zach Eflin started that game for the Phillies, went 6 innings, 4 earned runs. Not bad. I think we're probably hoping for a little more out of him, but early in the season, I think a start like that, you could expect a team to compete and hopefully win that one. The other thing to come out of that game, Archie Bradley left after facing 3 batters. They put him on the 10-day DL. I believe yesterday I saw now it's he'll be there for 3 to 4 weeks with an oblique strain. So not a great track record signing these seasoned bullpen veterans with David Robertson a couple years ago. I think we gave him 2 years, and we got a game out of him where he walked 4 batters.
Boy, was it a great game!
At least Archie. I mean, there's still hope for Archie, and he looked good in his first couple appearances. So once he's back, I expect him to be back, and I don't expect anything too much worse. Hopefully, but I guess you never know with injuries. And Sunday's game, the most exciting of the week for multiple reasons. First of all, the Phillies with their lone win of the road trip. They defeated the Braves 7-6. In that game,
Bohm was safe.
Well, in that game, Rhys Hoskins, Didi Gregorius, and Bryce Harper all hit a home run. Matt Moore, 5 innings pitched, 5 earned runs. 3 of those earned runs were in the first inning, so got off to a bit of a crazy start, but they ended up rallying. We'll fast forward to the top of the ninth, where Alec Boehm doubled, got to third on a Gene Segura ground out, and the next batter was Didi Gregorius, who popped out to pretty shallow left field, out to Marcelo Ozuna, and Dusty Watson decided to send Alec on the catch. With Ozuna's not known for having the greatest arm, and there was a bit of a play at the plate. Why don't you break that one down for us, Bob?
The thing is, he was safe. So anybody says otherwise, you're wrong. He was totally safe. Stop your crying, stop your whining. Alec Boehm sneaks in. His foot did hit the plate ahead of the tag. And there you go. There's your seventh run that would end up being your game winner.
So I will help Bob out here. Alec Boehm was out at the plate, unfortunately. However,
nope.
However, with the tag play, so to break it down, Alec Boehm, you've probably seen the video. His foot came up off the ground. I mean, in those close plays like that, it's tough. You're running right at a catcher who, from what all I could tell, Travis d'Arnaud did nothing wrong. He accepted the catch and then got in front of Alec to try to tag him. And just with the way the bodies collided, it caused Alec to miss the plate ever so slightly.
Nope.
But because the call on the field was safe, when they go to replay, instead, and we'll get into replay a little bit here because I really don't like this approach that they take.
Replay is the best.
when they
stress, it is.
Yeah, when they go to replay, they have to factor in the call on the field, which in this case was safe. And I guess the objective of the replay is to either confirm or deny that call. And when they cannot do either, they're forced to stick with the call on the field. To me, I think the approach should be either whoever it is that's viewing the video replay, don't let them know what the call is, or just going with the objective is, from your perspective, is this safe or out? What do you think? Is the approach they have now, take the Phillies out of it. If you look at this just from a baseball standpoint of trying to get the calls right, is the way replay is currently set up, is it the correct approach in your opinion?
No. I mean, all kidding aside, I'm actually watching the play right now, just reliving it. I've had an issue with replay in pretty much every sport that has replay. I think, you clearly, if you watch it, I mean, his foot at least I will say this, on the angles that were provided on the TV. I don't have any of their angles to see. I can just go by what I see on the videos and the replays that they've shown us. His foot did not touch. So as a objective, view on it, I would have ruled him as out. I mean, replay is a whole discussion we can talk about forever in a day, but it needs to be changed, not just in baseball, but I think in every sport that has currently has replay.
Yeah, and it's a shame that that's how it's going, because when replay first came out, there was the concern about it even slowing down the game even more. But I think if the necessary changes were made, it could be so much simpler. First of all, it seems like the people who are watching the replay could start watching these replays sooner instead of. I don't know what goes on, obviously, during these replays, but
that's always been my thought. Is in any situation, in any sport, is we see the replay on TV side within seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't there a guy either at each game or somewhere else watching each game who has immediate access and I would have that person basically have an answer like you and me. Like any play that happens, you see a replay, you have an answer, whether they call on you to provide an answer.
Yeah, great point.
I think there should be like a simple radio call. What'd you see? I saw this. This is the call, and then boom. That's judgment made right there.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And And I mean, we even started talking a bit about replay last week with Michael Conforto and getting hit or leading into a pitch to get hit to win that game, and not being able to look at that because of the judgment call. There's just so many little rules like that that.
It's things like that hurt the game, especially in baseball where everybody is concerned about the game being hurt, and it's things like that which are from our angle and from other people's angle is something that's fixable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other rules that are in baseball currently. Maybe we can get into it later. That I feel do the same thing about just kind of making baseball not baseball anymore, and simple things that can be fixed to just really speed things up or preserve the game that we all like.
Mm-hmm. So did they move on from Atlanta, going 1-2 there, getting the win on Sunday night? Monday ends up getting rained out, so we get into a Tuesday doubleheader with more rules that we can gloss over quickly. When they have a doubleheader now, it's set up for 2 7-inning games, which I hate it.
Yes. Little League Baseball. It's not Little League Baseball. Let them play 9.
It changes the whole complexity of the game. They talk about it on the broadcast multiple times where suddenly the 3rd inning of the 7-inning game becomes the 5th inning, and it fast forwards something that doesn't need to be fast forwarded, and I just don't think it's necessary. But let's not spend too much time on the rules. We can dedicate some time to that down the road. In Game 1, the Mets defeated the Phillies 4-3. Chase Anderson went 4 innings with 2 earned runs and 3 walks. Not a bad outing again. He's been pretty solid in his first 2 starts. I'm not too disappointed. I feel like he's pitched better than Matt Moore.
Yes.
So he on paper would be more like your 4th starter. It also in this game there was a play at third. Roman Quinn, I believe, was stealing third, and he had the bag stolen. But the throw was a little over the head of third baseman Guillermo, and Roman I don't know if Dusty Wathan was there to tell him, or if he wasn't paying attention. Roman Quinn thought the ball went out into left field and popped off the third base bag, and then he gets tagged out and ends the inning. And that is it killed any kind of momentum or rally the Phillies had in that 5th inning. And I wouldn't say that one single thing ruined the game for the team, but it kind of just goes into the frustration we've had with Roman Quinn this year at the plate. Defensively, I think I think it was opening day. He had a pretty nice throw from center to nab the guy at the plate. But just overall, it almost felt like a microcosm of Roman Quinn of just we see the talent, but then we see all the frustration within. It's just too much. I mean, he's playing himself out of that role. We know now in the coming days there will be some personnel changes, which we'll get into, and but it's such a shame because you see the quickness when he gets on first. Just getting on base, he changes the dynamic of a game, but he can't get himself on base. And then when he does, he gets himself out in this scenario. So just super disappointing. And then Hector Neris blows the save. They had the lead going into the 8th, which I guess technically was extra innings. Neris gives up 2 runs, 3 hits, and a walk. Just not a great showing. They scored the run on the top of the 8th, and then Neris couldn't shut it down. And you and I have both defended Hector, and I'm not going to use this one case against him. However, we have seen this before where Hector just has these games where he cannot come in and close the door. And in a year where you have guys like Jose Alvarado, even Connor Brogdon, who are showing that they can consistently come in and be effective, this closer's role is going to be contested, I think, pretty soon. And again, like I said, with the two of us have defended Hector, but is there any doubt creeping into your head? Do you think we're getting closer to a switch, perhaps?
I don't think we're any closer to a switch. I do love. I think we kind of glossed over Brogdon there. Brogdon, that same game had a great seventh inning.
Mhm.
I think he struck out two. He hit a guy, but he rebounded. He strikes out Brendan Nimmo. He gets Lindor to fly out, and then he strikes out Dominic Smith swinging to end that seventh. Just really impressive stuff by Connor Brogdon, someone who I believe the Phillies believe can be a future closer.
Mhm.
Do I think it's anytime soon? No, I don't. But to get back to Hector Neris, I mean, it's just talking about another rule that we hate is the runner on second in extras.
Mhm.
And because of that, he gets a blown save, like in the records,
Yeah.
because of a guy that he didn't inherit, he didn't put on base. Yeah, he was a little shaky. He had 3 hits and 2 runs. Only one of those is earned because that
Mhm.
imaginary runner on second to begin the game or to
Yeah.
begin the inning doesn't count as an earned run. But still, to just have that be a blown save and that rule in general, just yeah, I don't like it. But no, I think Neris is the guy still for at least the time being. But he does have a guy like Connor Brogdon kind of biting at his heels.
Yeah. And by the way, in your while you were talking there, you mentioned Brandon Nimmo. He is quickly becoming my least favorite player in baseball, and not for any rational reason. I just can't stand when he sprints to first, when he walks, and he hits and gets on base too much. And to be honest, I don't like his face. So just
Okay.
put it out there. Brandon Nimmo, not my favorite.
All right.
We go to later in the day in that doubleheader, game 2. Phillies fall to the Mets again, 4-0. Aaron Nola got the start of that one. Goes 5 innings, 3 earned runs. Not sharp, which was the same. Same thing. His last time out against the Mets. There really is something to the cold weather, or at least the not hot weather for Nola. He
I don't know what it is. I mean, it was 92 pitches to 5, not great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he threw a decent amount of strikes. He had 59 strikes. So at least that is somewhat good. He wasn't crazy wild. Only had 1 walk, and he did strike out 7. But I don't know. It's just he's a guy who sort of he is what he is, and I wish he was that number 1. We talked about it last week how Wheeler really is the number 1 because of the stuff and of how he's performed or what he has done. I know he struggled too, but it is a little worrisome. I'm not going to panic too much. It's only his 3rd start of the year, but he can't be throwing 90 pitches in 5 innings, especially when a guy who you need to go 6-7 to preserve this bullpen.
I'll be more worried if we get into the warmer weather and he doesn't rebound. I mean, we saw him on opening day; he was fine. So we'll I'm not worried about either Wheeler or Nola at the moment. And just to close out that game, Spencer Howard made his season debut. He won an inning, allowed a run, and on the opposite side of the or I guess on the same mound, Marcus Stroman shut out the Phillies for 6 innings, and then Familia came in and closed it out. And then yesterday's game, once again, Mets defeat the Phillies, this time 5-1. And as you mentioned, Zach Wheeler went deeper into that game than I think anyone expected. He gave up that 2-run home run to, or I'm sorry, not a home run, but he gave up 2 runs to Dominic Smith in the first inning and threw almost 30 pitches. And it was like, well, here we go again. Ends up going 6 in the 3rd, 3 earned runs on 108 pitches, which feels like astronomical because we don't usually see a pitcher go, to triple digits too much. Jojo Romero came in for 2/3 of an inning, gives up 2 earned runs, and Vince Velasquez comes in to close things out. Gave up a walk because that's just his calling card nowadays. And Gene Segura is the lone run in that game with his first home run of the season. So today the Phillies were scheduled to play the Mets at 12 o'clock. However, that game got rained out, so we do miss DeGrom. So despite
Yay!
despite being swept, going 0-3 in New York. They didn't have to face DeGrom, so I guess there is that.
Yeah, I mean, to get back on the bullpen real quick, I just want to point out we talked about Brogdon. I don't know about you, but I really like Coonrod too. He's been sort of their firefighter back there. He came in after they basically pulled Wheeler. Yeah, Wheeler had he'd struck out Brendan Nemo, your guy.
Yeah.
He then let up 2 singles, and they pulled him. And Kumar comes in, gets a sacrifice fly, and gets McNeil to ground out, and sort of preserves. It does another one. They cross the plate that inning, but was credited to Wheeler. But another guy who has been really, really solid for us back end of the bullpen. Maybe future setup guy. Who knows?
Yeah, you make a good point. He's looked pretty darn good, and there's been just we've mentioned him, Brogdon. You said Coonrod, even Alvarado, despite his sort of erraticness. Bullpen has been such a step up from last year, and it's I guess a bright spot on this team. The not bright spot on this team, one of them at least, is the play on the road. Like we said, 5-1 to start the season at home, and then 1-5 on the road. That will not get it done as far as making the playoffs and having a successful season. And just before we started recording, we were looking into a lot of the Phillies stats, especially on the road the last few years, and it's just, it's ugly. And I told you, I think I mentioned on the podcast last week, and texting throughout the week, I can't stand when the Phillies go and play in Atlanta. They went 1-2, and that the one game they did win was questionable. 1-2 down there last year, 2019 they were 4-5. They haven't gone over 500 in Atlanta since 2017, and it almost feels like that's an anomaly. Remind me, did Atlanta win the division in 2017? No, they did not. I answered my question. Thank you. It was the Nationals.
Nationals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow, by 20 games. Wow, that feels like forever ago.
It does.
But yeah, just overall, the Phillies record on the road, and I think you might have the stats up somewhere, or if not, I can find them. But
since 2018, the Phillies are 77 and 119 on the road.
Yeah. It's I don't know what it is, and so you said since 2018, so that's both managers. That's Kepler and Girardi, and whatever it is going on the road. And you look at the stats from the past few seasons as far as who's leading this division. So last year, shortened season, but we look at the Braves, they were over 500 both home and away. Marlins finished second in the division. They were actually looking at this, the Marlins were over 500 on the road. They were below 500 at home, but they squeaked into the playoffs. But again, last year was a questionable season at best. If we go back to 2019, the last full season, the Braves and Nationals finished 1-2 in the division. Both teams over 500, home and away. And then even going back as far as 2018, top 2 teams in the division were over 500, home and away. So it's, I mentioned before that I think a good goalpost to set for a team is to go on a pace where you win every series at home. So you're winning 2 out of 3 at home, and then on the road, if you can go 500, I think you're pretty well set to succeed. And right now, it's just there's nothing to indicate that they could do that and improve where they've been the last few years as far as playing on the road. What? I can't.
What's the answer? I have no idea.
Yeah, what?
If that's your question, I have no idea what the answer is.
Yeah, and because I guess there's 2 questions. 1, what is the issue? And then 2, how do you fix it? And is home cooking that much better? Is the scenery at Citizens Bank Park that much more favorable to them? I don't really know, and neither of us know. Nobody really knows, I guess. And I guess it falls on Joe Girardi to try to figure out how to prepare these guys for the road? I don't really know what it is. I mean, how do you?
Yeah, I guess after a while, it just starts to seep into your brain, and for guys who've been here for a while, not having great road record history, and sort of, I think it sort of you start thinking about it, and then of course you have reporters and people talking about it and asking questions, and I think it sort of snowballs into that effect. But also breaking down to like a smaller level, you have just little things that you're not doing. We talked about last week when we did the over under. I brought up how Reese, his walk rate, and I had a question for that for over under. He's just not walking this year, and that is something that was big part of his game is plate recognition and getting on base and walking. And especially if Joe wants him to be a guy at the top of the order, batting two. Yes, I know he can hit home runs and drive the ball and get RBIs, but a part of his game that's not really there, or it's not there at all, is he's not getting on base. He's not walking. Yeah. And it's little things which I've seen glimpses of since Joe's been the manager, of doing little things right and not relying on the long ball. But it just needs, I think, consistency is really the key, is just doing the little things right day in and day out.
Yeah, and you started talking about Reese there and his offensive woes, but it's the team as a whole that's just they're not hitting well. And I think last week we were a little more lenient because it was only a week into the season, but now we're 2 weeks in, and it's like, okay, that's there's still 150 games left. It's a long season, but these early games, especially when the first 4 series of the season are against division opponents, you like to see a little bit more. But now they spend the next 2 weeks going up against non-divisional opponents. So, hopefully they take this time to get a little bit hotter, because if we could take a look and break down their stats here. Going based on batting average, you've got JT Realmuto, Didi, and Gene Segura are all at the top, hovering right about 300 that they're hitting. But there's no one really else that's hitting the ball that well. And they're not stringing hits together.
Out too much.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're striking out way too much. I was just looking at I was on Twitter today and saw a tweet from Bob Winkle, who I don't know if you follow him or read his stuff, but Bob Winkle covers the team for Cross and Broad. As of yesterday, this is before yesterday's game, they had the 6th highest strikeout rate in baseball, 27.6% strikeout rate. And their OPS and their slugging, OPS was 21st in baseball. Their slugging and their on-base percentage both at 17%. This is before, like I said, yesterday's game. But if you're going to strike out that much, you're going to need to hit some home runs. They're not doing that. They're not getting on base enough. They just aren't producing, and Joe has to figure it out.
Well, you'll be happy to know that their strikeout percentage has increased since then. they're at 28.9 right now, which is good for third highest in the league behind Baltimore Orioles and the Chicago Cubs.
We're number 3.
Number 3. Yeah. The Chicago Cubs, who are hitting 163 on the season. Phillies at 229. And then if you do want to break it down by on base percentage, they're at 295, which puts them at 24 out of 30 in the league, tied with the Gabe Kapler San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics, as well as Baltimore. So if you want to think of teams to compare to offensively, that's Baltimore right now is the one, and it's when you have a team. We went through the lineup on our first episode and talking about how potent this lineup could be, and so far it's just not clicking. They're not stringing hits together, and it's starting to get concerning.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, over 100 or right at 150 games left in the season, so there's plenty of time to make it up, and we're all doom and gloom right now, but you want to at least see glimpses of what the future holds and what the rest of the season could look like. and the numbers
I
just aren't
think
there.
up until one bright spot is up until yesterday. I think Didi Gregorius had a hit in every game.
Yeah.
He didn't get a hit in his one pinch hit appearance, but
but then even Didi is striking out more than usual. He's got 12 strikeouts, which is tied for second most on the team. So, it's there's probably I'm sorry, tied for third on the team, but it just goes all into the same bucket of no one, I guess, besides Romuto, no one's really stepping up too much. Didi's hitting well, but a couple home runs, and then everything else is a single. And it's nice, yes, but just everyone overall, you need to see a little bit of improvement. So, maybe a return home is just what the team needs. Get them heated up and back out on the road, and maybe get yourself corrected. And I guess if we really think about it, let's go back 2 weeks, and we tell ourselves that the team's going to go 500 through 4 series against divisional opponents. If I had told you that 2 weeks ago, how would you have felt? Not knowing, what the split was, home versus road, and how the streakiness was. What would you say if I had told you they were 6-6 before before the season started?
I would be content. I don't think I would be overly joyous, but I think I would be. I would feel pretty solid. Like, okay, that's not a bad start. But yeah,
I think it just hurts more because of the way it shook out, because they started so hot and then so quickly it turned around. I think that's where the real disappointment hits. And I agree. If I had been told that they were 500 after 4 series against divisional opponents, I would have wanted a win or 2 more. But this early in the season, you take it.
Because then there's the other things. Like I would have expected Harper to have a few more home runs. I would have expected more from Noah and Weaver than what we've gotten. So there's other things that I would have expected alongside that. I think because we know the struggles of this offense and the struggles of our pretty much the entire team except for parts of the bullpen.
Yeah,
I think that is what sort of makes the 6-6 record right now just feel so
empty.
heavy and yeah.
And one of the bigger struggles on the team is center field. We touched on Roman Quinn earlier. The other guy that's played out there for quite a bit is Adam Hazley. Mm-hmm. He had been hitting 190 before yesterday, no walks. Then it came out that Mickey Moniak was being called up, and Adam Hazley was being put on the restricted list for I think it was officially family reasons or personal reasons, something along those lines. And we haven't heard any more, nor should we expect to. But the one interesting thing I thought that I heard was Joe Girardi was asked about if Hazley would be back on the team before the end of the season, and he wasn't sure. And so this is something, whatever's going on with Adam, it could be extremely long term, and we won't dwell on whatever it is that's keeping him out, but we will dwell on Mickey Moniak coming out. And he didn't start that first game that Roman Quinn did start, and perhaps that was just a timing thing, trying to get Mickey to the stadium on time. But I think it would be fair to have Moniak starting every game. I mean, what are you thinking? Should Moniak? Yeah,
absolutely. I am excited for Mickey to come up here. I'm not overly pumped because let's face it, he was a number 1 overall pick who has not been number 1 pick-esque. He is a guy who, for where he was drafted, he should have been up here already. He should have been, making an impact on this team. But it's taken him a while to make it up here. That being said, I'm still excited to see what he can do. He had a solid spring, and let's hope he can, move it along to here. And with Adam gone, we don't want to speculate, what's going on with him. We just hope he's okay. But Roman, I'm sick of seeing Roman start every day. I need to see him just come off the bench for certain situations, pinch run, defensive replacement, whatever it is. But he is just not hitting enough. And with a team who's already struggling to hit, I need to see someone new out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he is still young. He's 22 years old. So I do think there's time for him to bud into hopefully a starting outfielder and become somebody reliable on the team. And
I would love that.
Yeah, it may take a while. I mean, I guess disappointing part of it is there's a chance that he struggles right off the bat, and well, I mean, it can't be much worse than what we've already been getting. So, yeah, I guess you deal with it. You put him in the 8 hole for now, and just let him get acclimated. And he had a couple of bats last year, so give him some time to warm up and see if he does sprout into something that'll be exciting for the year. Injecting.
Yeah, I don't know how much work he's been getting. I think they've just been doing hidden drills and stuff like that, because I don't think the minor league season has started yet. I think that starts in May. So I don't expect him to come off the bench and just rake right away. But for the foreseeable future, I would like to see him start this entire homestand.
I think it's fair. I mean, what more can you expect to see out of Roman Quinn? I mean, he's had years of at bats where he's pretty much proven to us at this point that he's just not going to hit well. I mean, it's the experiment is pretty much over. He's your late inning defensive replacement. He's a late inning pinch runner. He's a maybe 1 game a week starter because somebody needs rest, and that's his ceiling, unfortunately, at this point. And I mean, there's a spot on the team for a guy like that, but it's he can't be your everyday center fielder at this point.
No, and I really hope Mickey does well. I saw another tweet today by Kevin Cooney, who covers the team, who talked about the outfielders, and this is his tweet from 12 hours ago. He said, since Greg Luzinski made his last All-Star game in 1978, the Phillies have had 4 outfield appearances in the All-Star game. Only one of those has been drafted and developed from the farm system. That was Don Brown in 2013. So if we can get some homegrown talent in the outfield and from Mickey Moniak, that would be a very, very good sign for this team.
Yeah. And so just looking ahead at what the Phillies have coming up this weekend, they will play the Cardinals for 3 games. We've got a Friday night game, a Saturday afternoon game, and then an early Sunday afternoon game. By the way, Fanatic's birthday is on Sunday, so I hope you bought him something.
Damn it. Hold on, I need to run out to the store real fast.
And then starting April 19th, it'll be the return of Gabe Kapler as the San Francisco Giants.
I'm sorry, who?
Gabe Kapler. He is the
never heard of
he will be leading the San Francisco Giants back into Philadelphia for 3 games. So going up against 2 teams that are not in the division, it'll be nice to play against some guys that are not so familiar, and hopefully go on a good streak or a good run against them.
Yeah, 2 teams that I've learned to hate over the years with our playoff meetings.
Yes,
with both those teams.
Oh.
So, sort of 2 teams that aren't rivals, but have sort of become at least a little bit rivals here in the city.
Yeah,
with some of the fans, just because of past experiences.
Yeah.
But And then looking ahead to Acid, or not to get too ahead of ourselves, but they go to Colorado, which is, I feel they've always had interesting series in Colorado.
Yeah.
The last decade plus.
Yeah.
So, hey, I love it. Baseball is back. It's, I'm excited to see teams that aren't in our division again. And are you going to some of these games? Are you going to see some of this action?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. I will be there on Saturday with a Cardinals fan, a fan, a fan of the Cardinals that is my friend. I will be going to the game with someone who is a Cardinals fan and is also my friend. Yeah, and so that'll be interesting. It looks like they're sticking with the 25% capacity for a while. They sent out an email to season ticket holders this week to buy tickets through, I think it was through July or something like that, and it all mentioned 25% capacity. So it looks like they're sticking with that for quite a while. I guess they could change it up and sell more tickets at some point, but for now, that's where they're sticking. And then I'll be there Wednesday as well. I'll be taking my sister to the game, so I will. I'll be sure to get all the hot interviews that we need and really get this thing going. So as we wrap up this week's episode, it would be a huge dishonor if we did not mention that this past week was the 12-year anniversary of the passing of Harry Callis. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know who he is, but Harry, the big booming voice of the Phillies for decades, and his call. Obviously, he had so many calls, but his radio call for the final out of the 2008 World Series. I have it memorized. There will be times where I just say it just because it pops up in my head.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of baseball. What
a perfect baseball voice and just an incredible guy. What is your lasting memory of Harry?
Well, first I remember the moment I found out he had passed. I was with my friend Steven. We were in his car driving home from class, and it felt like a member of my family had died. That's just the kind of impact that Harry has had. Harry, to me, is baseball. His voice is still baseball. His voice is, it's, part of the reason why I love baseball so much is because of the way Harry would talk about it. And it's just, he was an icon. There's so many memories I have of him, so many great games, so many crazy games. I remember a game we played against Cincinnati. I think we scored like 14 runs at inning. I just remember his calls the entire time we're in the car listening to it. I've heard him call many great games, and just great moments in the history of me being a fan.
Should be it. Ricky Leday is there. He puts it away, and Kevin Millwood has pitched a no-hit, no-run game at Veterans Stadium.
It's sad that he's no longer with us. Those kind of voices in baseball are just they're dying out, and it's just. But he's always, hopefully, will always be remembered in the city.
Yeah, and it's nice that he'll have that statue out in left field for quite a while. And on opening day, they continue the tradition of his son coming out and singing the national anthem. And I believe his other son still calls games, maybe for the Rays now, I believe. So, yeah, the Callis name will remain synonymous with baseball. And it is a shame because I always think of some of the names on the team that how cool it would be to hear him call them out. Mickey Moniak, I feel like is such a great name. Would have been such a great name for him to.
Yeah. It's a shame he didn't he wasn't around. I'm so glad he was here when we won the World Series, but it's a shame that he wasn't there for guys like Doc Holliday, who had two iconic moments as a Philly. It's just a shame that you think about you're glad he was there for all the great moments that you remember as a fan, but since he's been gone, you said the names that you miss him saying and the moments that you know he missed. But as long as we have the High Hope song at the end of every win, as long as we have that statue, as long as we have our memories, Harry will always be with us.
Absolutely. So that'll about do it for this week's episode. As we head into the weekend, Friday night's game against the Cardinals at 7:05, we'll see Zach Eflin versus Carlos Martinez. Any quick predictions for the next 6 games as they take on the Cardinals and Giants?
Just don't embarrass yourselves. That's honestly, I would like to just at least stay 500. Just try to get through this month without losing too much ground. You don't want to start. Starting the season is always very important, so you don't have to make up ground at the end. So just as long as they keep chugging and try to stay at least 500 here and not lose too much ground, and step back into like 4th or 5th place. That's all I have right now. I've just been beaten down by this last road trip.
Yeah, this last week's been quite a bummer. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but I'm hoping for 4-2. I think it's within reason that they could either take both series or sweep one of them and be competitive in the other. And when you're playing that way on the road,
4-2, and I'm back, baby. I'm hyper and I'm high-fiving everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're playing like that on the road, you absolutely have to make up for it at home. So, we'll see. It should be some exciting games. But once again, thank you everyone for tuning in to 2 On, 2 Out, the new name of our show. As I mentioned in our Instagram post, we're working on spreading our wings and getting this podcast onto a couple more services and branching out on social media. So keep an eye out for that. Until then, we thank you for listening and go Phillies.